Hello and welcome back to Our Shared Lie. We'll be continuing where we left off, which, if you recall, is um when the protagonist met a polar bear. The lion is still around, because of course he is. Um this polar bear was talking to the protagonist, talking about what they were doing, how they got there, how he, along with the rest of the group, basically already toured the island. And after something happened with the fox, who coincidentally also wanted to off the main character, um, he decided to just go on his own, and he found this pond where he decided to take a nap. And all of a sudden, when he woke up, there was ice on the water, or little mini icebergs, I guess you could say, more like ice cubes, giant ice cubes. Um, and afterwards, these two ended up finding him. And after they had a little conversation about the tiger, where apparently he's kind of abrasive to everyone he meets, they decided to, like, hey, you want to go fishing? I'll teach you how to fish with your bare paws. Pun intended. And so yeah, they're about to do a little bit of fishing. Of course, the bear decided to show off a little, I guess. But yeah, there's some fishing and some stuff that's about to happen. So yeah. So buckle up, I guess. But yeah, well, let's continue. AL-933 charges towards the water like a train with no brakes, with an unstoppable force. Nothing can deter him from diving into the refreshing lake. With an athletic leap, the lion propels himself into the water with great momentum, creating a splash that sends thousands of droplets flying. But as soon as his feet touch the clear liquid, he unexpectedly loses his balance and falls into the water, drenching his fur and what little clothing he has on. Ugh! The feline emerges from the water, rubbing his shoulders in a bid to steady the trembling of his hefty frame. Cold, cold, cold! You said it wasn't cold! Ouch. Are you okay, big guy? No, I am not. It's not cold for me. But if it affects you so much, come closer to me. After all, according to Wolfie, I am very hot. Very funny. The lion draws closer to OR 476, trembling as a mist surrounding him is lifted. Whoa, you were right, mate. It's pretty hot around him. That's what I was trying to say. If the water is hot, it's not due to you having urinated, right? Don't be gross, although considering the ice, the fish must be attracted to the heat. So you admit you... If I answer, will you drop the subject? AL-933 ponders the answer for a moment. Yes. Well, I am not going to answer you. I don't know whether to laugh or to be grossed out by that. AL-933 is also worried, looking at the water around them. Just kidding. Calm down. Ah, I see. You know, you're quite the steam generator. At this rate, you'll turn this lake into a sauna in just a couple of hours. Well, obviously that's just a joke. It's impossible for that to happen. If that occurs, we're already discovered a solution to your low temperature problem. Haha, I guess so. I can tell from your expression that this is confusing you a lot. But don't worry, it's probably just something about bears that I've forgotten myself. My brief stay here has taught me that overthinking things only leads to unnecessary stress. That kinda sounds like a convenient explanation for don't think about these weird little inconsistencies with this story. I'm not experiencing any discomfort. It's just regular water vapor. Perhaps this may be the most normal occurrence in the world, and we've simply forgotten about it. It's possible that our recollection of how things function is skewered, and it's completely natural for lakes to freeze over in a matter of hours. Everything is possible here. AL-933 opens and closes his mouth in surprise, while his eyes gleam with a possible epiphany. I hadn't thought of that possibility. Perhaps we are the ones who have a wrong perception of things. A paradigm. Maybe you're right, yes. Maybe you're right. As I mentioned before, it has already been confirmed that there is an external factor that we do not know about. Perhaps this factor may be our perception. I had never considered the possibility. I had always assumed that the irrationality came from the outside world, that the world was the one acting nonsensical. But what if our own limited perceptions are the root of the problem, our minds being so broken that are incapable of understanding what is genuinely normal? Wait, 476, what about the bottomless cliff then? There's no way the sky is that normal. Perhaps it's also normal that cliffs have no bottom. We cannot deny or confirm it in our state. Or am I wrong? You're right. It makes me angry that I cannot answer a conclusive sentence. But it makes me more angry to know that there's the possibility that we're the ones that have the problem. A problem that we do not know how to solve. So, what do we do now? Wouldn't Wolfie also want to come in for moral support? I don't think it's a good idea. I mean, I want to take a bath, but the bandages and the ice... Maybe we can see how to help you with that after we catch some fish. Good idea, 476. Wait until we catch dinner and then we'll help you out. If you say so. I run my paw through the fur on my neck, while both men laugh, getting ready to begin their operation of fishing in the lake. Okay, Lion, get ready for a crash course in paw fishing. Are you ready? I'm more than ready. I was born ready. But how do we fish with just our paws? First, you need to locate a stable surface where you can plant your feet approximately 5 meters away from me. Then make sure that your feet are positioned wide apart to avoid any risk of losing your balance while attempting to apprehend them. Got it! AL-933 does as he is told and positions himself a couple of meters from the bear. Okay, I think this side is safe. Good. Now, please sit still and pay attention as I explain the two techniques for catching fish. Patient and risky. Whichever technique you choose, it's imperative to remain very still, as you only have one opportunity to retrieve the fish from the water. After this, whether successful or not, you must wait calmly for the water to settle before the fish will return. Speaking from personal experience, I prefer the patient approach. Submerge my entire body and wait for the fish to come close enough to my paw to catch them. However, this requires keeping your body as still as a rock, which can be quite challenging underwater. And the other way? Remain stationary with half of your body above the water's surface and keep a lookout for any fish that may pass by. With swift reflexes, you can easily catch whatever swims your way. It may seem daring, but it can be done. Okay, that seems easy to remember. Do you know what technique you want to try? I'm considering attempting a more daring approach, as I'm not entirely at ease submerging my entire body underwater. Alright then, I'll also take the risky way. Allow me to demonstrate the proper technique. OR-476 carefully removes his left glove, handling it as delicately as if it were made of porcelain. Once he's finished, he tucks the glove into his sweater. I expect him to do the same with his right glove, but it's caught on the bracelet around his wrist, clearly unable to remove it. So he can't take off the glove on his right paw, Why is the bracelet on top of it? I wonder if our captors intentionally made it this way. He took off his left glove without much trouble. I still don't understand why they couldn't have placed the bracelet underneath the glove. As I get lost in my thoughts, my ears perk up, alerting me to the sound of a bear submerging himself in the nearby lake. I turn my attention to the water to witness the impressive sight, only half of his enormous body visible above the surface, revealing his magnificent chest and furry arms. Despite the rising steam around him, the bear remains unfazed, his intense gaze fixed solely on the water. His face turns into a more serious one. He looks so fierce and scary like that. Alright, it's fishing time. 933, you just stand there and wait for a fish to come by. When it's in your grasping area, try to catch it as fast as possible. Don't move unless absolutely necessary, and make sure your feet have a good grip. The lion nods with dedication. Got it! Now here comes the hardest part, the wait. A few minutes later, I can hear the rustling of leaves as a gentle breeze brushes past the trees, mingling with the soothing sounds of waves lapping at the lake's shore. Since the fishing session seems to be dragging on, I decide to make myself comfortable on the sandy ground despite the risk of further soiling my fur. Come to think of it, I don't recall taking a rest while waking up. I've been on my feet since I woke up at that cliff. It feels good to rest my legs. And this is nice. There's something about taking a break and being able to sit back and observe what others are doing that puts my mind at ease. I tune my ears to capture any sounds around me, but all I hear is the calming melody of nature and the occasional splashing of 933. The aroma of the lake fills my nostrils, mixed with a hint of musky vanilla from the shirt resting on my shoulder. Despite the sweat, the scent is oddly enjoyable. I feel a twinge of embarrassment as my gaze shifts downwards, my eyes avoiding any contact. Something is really wrong with me. A fleeting glance catches sight of my tail tucked between my legs. My tail remains as still as the sand beneath me, molded by the pressure of my weight. I didn't even notice when I had accidentally sat on it. Despite my attempts to shift it, there's no response. It remains limp, resembling nothing more than a lifeless rope tethered to my lower back. I can't help but feel my injuries are more severe than they appear, and that my condition may be worse than anticipated. What if I lose mobility in it completely? When was the last time that you saw a wolf without a tail? I fear the pain that may accompany laughter or intense expressions on my face, but now I am even more frightened than I can sense my tail. And with the possibility that our fundamental understanding of the world is flawed, it only adds to my apprehension. I am jolted out of my reverie by the sound of splashing, and my ears instinctively perk up to investigate. As I fixate on the scene in front of me, I watch AL-933 withdraw his paws from the water with lightning-fast speed. However, upon closer inspection, I notice that there's nothing clutched to his paws as the water siphons off. This marks yet another disappointment for the lion. This is the 5th failed attempt. I hope he doesn't get frustrated by this. Oh! I spoke too quickly. Come on, I had it right there. This time I had it. Calm down. I already told you that if you want fresh fish, you have to be patient. But I've already seen a few pass near you and you haven't done anything. That's because I wasn't certain that I was going to be able to catch them. Part of being successful at this is knowing when not to make your move. Also, try not to move too much because you scare them. Ah, I see. Sorry, my bad. But then, how do you know when to make the move? It's a bit of practice. I don't know how to explain it to you in words. It doesn't help much. You were the one that wanted to fish, big guy. Now deal with it. And I will. I'm going to make it. I'm going to catch the biggest fish there is, and we're both going to eat it whole, whether we like it or not. Eventually. I make a conscious effort to suppress my laughter. Thanks, but I don't want any appointment with the pain at the moment. What's so funny? I'd like to join in on the joke and share a laugh together. Nothing. It's just that watching a bear fish with his paws has its charm. And a feline interested in fish isn't. By the way, I just noticed that you always call him Big Guy. Is that a nickname or is that just the name that you gave him? Well, if it's the name that you chose for him, I'm curious to know what name you chose for me. I don't think Big Guy is very easy on the tongue. No comments at the moment. The answer doesn't seem to please 476, causing him to shift his focus back to the water. Hey, how are you, 827? Is everything okay on the shore? Have any crabs caused any trouble for you? Or whatever is in this place? I'm fine. Everything is calm here. Here, I'm taking care of your shirt for when you come back. Although, we should find a way to wash it before you put it on. It stings like a lion. Hey! Don't wet it or... A sudden noise cuts off our conversation. My ears swiftly lead my eyes to its source. OR-476 emerges from the water with a triumphant stance, raising his paw, holding a large fish to the sky. A fish with scales of vivid crimson color, like ceramic, and bigger and longer than my entire arm. 476's sharp claws are embedded into the fish in such a way that it can't escape. As the fish wriggles, droplets of blood seep through the bear's fingers, further embedding his claws into the flesh. The blood binds to the bear's fur, leaving a rosy color on his paws. I rise to my feet to observe the scene in more detail. Lucien, you really did it. Ah, yes. That was wow. Just wow. Wow indeed. And that's how it's done. 476 snatches the fish firmly in his paws, determined not to let it slip. A sense of satisfaction washes over me, reflected in the proud smile that spreads across his face. Now that was a good catch. Truth be told, I was already beginning to doubt myself. But oh boy did I do it, and with only one paw. Look at that. That was awesome. You have to show me how to do it. I'm going to use your technique now. I told you had to be patient, although I must thank you, Line. Thanks to your splash, several fish came in my direction. I apologize for questioning you, Master. Master? Master, huh? I like how it sounds. Will you teach me how to do it? Fine, I'll do it. There's still time to capture other specimens, but right now we have to twist its head so it doesn't suffer. Then we can to see where to keep it. I was already wondering that. Where do we store them? Maybe we can put it in a set of leaves or something? Depends on the kind of leaves, you have to. Well, I'll explain that later, but first let me put an end to this little friend's pain. Oh right, that's important. Yes, the best way to do it is... The irregular movements of the animal develop into small muscle spasms that gradually decrease in frequency. The bear's claws grip tighter, preventing it from plunging into the water and causing more blood to seep from its skin. The fish gives one final flick of its tail before becoming completely still. A wisp of icy mist rises from it, resembling the swirling smoke of incense. Like gentle drizzle, droplets of blood gently sprinkle onto the lake water. What remains is the lifeless body of an animal, bleeding to death. Biting his lip, 476 glances sideways at the creature cradled in his paw. AL933 notices the grief on the bear's countenance. What's up? You already sent it to Paradiso, right? Oh, I understand. Is this your first time doing this? Or do you recall having done it before, so to speak? If so, I sympathize with how difficult it can be to bring an end to life. It's okay if you don't want to continue. We understand. Don't worry, partner. It's not that. Truth be told, the thing is... His eyes flutter like marbles. He doesn't know where to look. I didn't do anything. This is going to sound crazy, but he just died in my paws. I didn't even make the move to finish it. That steam it's giving off, is it normal here too? I don't think so. Additionally, frigid steam emanates from the animal, billowing upwards into the sky. Gradually, the gas combines with the bear's generated hot steam, creating a thick layer of fog that blankets the lake's surface. While my wolf eyes enable me to observe these occurrences, I cannot vouch for my cliff partners. I notice AL933 captivated by the spectacle, enraptured by the glistening of a fish scales illuminated by our star. Fascinating! None of this will end well. 476, this isn't normal. Get back to shore. The bear disregards my commands as he's lost in thoughts, his gaze gently fixated on the animal before him. Big guy, bring him to the shore, now! But... Ice patches of frost begin to form on the body of the creature, resembling multi-layers of snow. The white color engulfs the fish, leaving it shriveled and crippled. The luster of its scales disappear, as does any chance that the animal might survive. Huh? The frost has coalesced into crystals, forming stinging spikes as big as my nose. These sharp crystals start to penetrate the surface, causing a breakage all over the skin. What the? 476, the fish? Like fire and gunpowder, the frost spreads throughout the fish. Shards of ice begin to sprout from the body with unnatural speed. The skin and scales struggle to keep up with the tension. It's impossible to look away as the ice continues to spread, consuming the fish. We wait with bated breath, not knowing what will happen next. Chunks of ice, vividly painted in red, plunge into the water's depths. The fish's body is impaled by sharp ice crystals, leaving behind only frigid remains on the bear's paw. OR-476 relinquishes the remaining debris on its paw, causing it to float away on the ice sea surface. The water is shrouded in a thick fog, enveloping the crimson ice in an eerie aura. My Lucian, what the sky is going on? What? His bracelet begins to ring, simultaneously emitting a radiant red glow. The water droplets around him start to freeze. Ice and frost are beginning to form on OR-476's left paw. I realize that his body is creating ice crystals from the impurities in his fur. He quickly shakes off the ice debris and exposes his bare paw. The blood on his paw disappears and his fur becomes pristine, so white that it hurts my eyes to look at, even through the mist filter. But the crystals keep forming. It's a chain reaction where the crystals form, or crystals without signs of stopping. The water is filling up with large and larger chunks of ice. The bear tries to stop whatever is happening, but any contact with the water only creates more ice. 933, bring him to the shore now! 476's face is filled with terror as he glances at us, and then down at his paw, which trembles with fear. The ice has risen up to his elbow, and seems to be steadily creeping higher and posing a continued threat. What's going on? 476, what's going on? I don't know. What's happening to me? The lion approaches the bear and touches his shoulder in an effort to calm him down. Yet the contact is short-lived. Ah! AL-933 detaches his paw from the bear's body and screams. In a rush, the feline submerges his paw into the water. His gaze shifts to me, his expression displaying a blend of bewilderment and worriment. What happened? What's up? He's hot. His body is boiling. What? What's going on? Oh, 933, stay away. It's not safe. But do it until I tell you otherwise. Understood. 933 follows my command and moves a couple of meters away, his pupils dance, scrutinizing all the movements of 476. He must be processing what's going on. Perfect. It's exactly what I need. The stupid pain from my snout. Calm down, 827. You know that there must be a solution to this. This happened for a reason. Things don't happen just because. 476 is wrong. None of this is normal, and using logic can find a solution for things that have no answer. Even if it's not on the first try, or the second or the fifth, we'll find the answer that we are looking for. I review step by step what could have led us to this moment. I scrutinize the scene, the crimson ice fragments floating in the water, the steam emanating around the bear, the frost on his left paw. His left arm is freezing, but his right arm isn't. Why? What is the difference between his arms that prevents one from freezing? What is the connection between his arm and the cold that affects him? Something in his paws? Like his... The realization hits me like a sledgehammer. I move my muzzle too much. I want to let out a cry of agony from my mouth, but I force myself to hold back the scream and keep my wits about me, knowing that giving in to the pain will only lead to more suffering. Gloves! His glove, that's it. I rush to get into the lake and try my best to avoid getting my bandages wet as I plunge my legs in. The frigid temperature takes me by surprise, causing me to jump and almost lose my balance. Merda! Do not stop. Do not fall. I kick the thick fog with my legs. I can feel the dampness seeping through my clothes. I try my best to suppress the trembling in my body as I press on, closing in on 476's location. I glance around and notice massive pieces of ice looming above me, their size dwarfing my own. I feel like the whole world has frozen over, and I'm the only soul brave enough to venture through the endless expanse of water and ice. As I get closer to OR-476, I can sense the danger that surrounds me. My heart races as I imagine the worst-case scenario playing out in my head. Nervous, I call out to him, my voice cracking with uncertainty. He turns around and I can see the surprise on his face as he recognizes me. As we approach each other, I can sense the tension building between us. 476, listen to me. Put on your glove, now. What? Put on the glove you took off. Wait. My ears perk up suddenly as I become aware of a presence. I instinctively turn to face the lion now at my side. His piercing gaze meets mine, and I feel a sense of protection from his imposing persona. If the gloves are the only barrier preventing him from freezing, how did his body not freeze underwater earlier? I believe his body needs to regulate the temperature. He needs to cool down the rest of his body. Isn't that what we want to avoid? If we don't do something now, he will. Not from the ice on his arm, but in the other parts of his body. He must bring his entire body into thermal equilibrium, or else it will never stop. Mate? You noticed it too, right? I'm not sure what you mean, but we have to act fast. Right. We can't wait any longer. He's the one who has to do it. 476, listen carefully. Can you hear me? The bear nods with a lost look. That's enough for me. Put your glove on now, then dive as deep as you can, but keep your paw out. Say something if you understand me. Ugh, yes. The bear contorts his face, but obediently follows my words as if they were holy scriptures without hesitation or skepticism. With his trembling right paw, OR-476 yanks out the glove from under his sweater, still with frost clinging onto his fur. The lion and I wait with bated breath for the bear's next action. An audible gasp escapes his lips. His breathing is too heavy and erratic. The continuous production of crystals halts abruptly as soon as the fabric of the glove contacts his left paw. His face becomes devoid of any emotion. His eyes turn completely white. OR-476's body plunges into the water like another piece of ice. As the bear's head touches the surface, powerful steam rises and melts much of the ice layer on his arm. A dense fog envelops the entire area, making it difficult to see what's happening. The fog thickens to the point where my eyes begin to struggle to perceive the surroundings. But the figure of the bear's body is still visible in the water. 933, let's get him out of here now. I'm on it. AL-933 and I cautiously approach the bear, aware of the potential danger at paw. Anxiety takes hold of me as my mind creates countless worst-case scenarios once again. Lucien, this is not what I think it is. Finally, as the mist thins, my vision clears to reveal the bear, placidly floating in the water, his both paws clad in gloves. His expression remains calm and unaware of the world around him. He doesn't flinch even when AL-933 appears by his side to offer words of encouragement. The bear's lack of interest is apparent, as he seems oblivious to the lion's words. His eyes roam everywhere except towards us. Yet AL-933 persists, attempting to touch the bear once more. I brace myself for another scream from him. But this time there is no scream to be heard. He's warm. He's warm, Argento. With a smile, he casts a sidelong glance at me before turning his attention to the white hairs. Argento. I don't know how I feel about that. Hey partner, come here. Let's take you to a quiet place. AL-933 and I grasp the bear's arms, but there is no response from him. Together we manage to pull his body towards the shore, the lion doing most of the work, making the task easier for me. OR-476 doesn't resist and simply allows himself to be dragged to safety. Fortunately, we can touch the bottom and the bear's floating weight doesn't hinder us too much. As we move, a thin vapor trail is left in the bear's wake in the water. Finally, we reach the shore and a sense of relief washes over me as I can see our bodies safely on the land. AL-933 lifts his head and shakes his mane, reminding me of a canine as he emerges from the water. OR-476 settles onto the sandy shore, his snout pointed upwards, while his paws remain damp from the lake water. I quickly approach to evaluate their condition, with my lower undergarments drenched in icy water. Are you okay, big guy? Yeah. Nothing serious. It's not me who you need to worry about. His eyes fixate on OR-476 as he stares off into the distance. I observe the lion quivering. He unconsciously rubs his paws against his shoulders in a rapid motion. Visible vapor exits his mouth, and droplets of ice water drip from his fur, causing his legs to shake slightly. Have you seriously not realized that you also need help? I grasp the shirt from my shoulder, still dry despite everything, and offer it to him, like an unwrapped present. Here, take this. This is yours. You should warm up. I'm not sure if putting it on will help, but at least it can serve as a makeshift towel. I wish there was more that I could do to help, but unfortunately this is the best that I can offer at the moment. I'm sorry. A faint grin spreads on his face, a gentle radiance sparks in his eyes, causing a flush to creep over my cheeks and the tips of my ears. I appreciate it. I really do. Are you okay? I am. Now please take it. You're trembling like crazy. The lion grabs a shirt and carefully places it over his chest, patiently waiting for his fur to dry sufficiently before putting it on. Now that that's settled, I shift my focus to the bear, resting on the sand. I notice his breathing is still rather labored, and his once shiny fur is now littered with sand. How are you feeling? There's no risk of more ice coming out of your paw, right? He stares in amazement. He lifts his paw up to examine it closely, and another gasp escapes his lips as he realizes everything is over. I think so. What happened? His voice has become even more husky and deep. If it were not for my keen sense of hearing, I may have missed what he said. I'm not sure. I think you froze the fish, and then yourself. That's what I did, right? I did that. OR476 erupts in uncontrollable laughter, his weakened voice capturing all of my attention. I don't know what to say or do to help. Feeling helpless, I get on my knees near him, and I just remain steadfast by his side, listening to his voice as his laughter gradually fades away. As the adrenaline dwindles, I become acutely aware of the throbbing pain in my muzzle, a harsh reminder of my careless actions. Despite it, I stay alongside OR476, witnessing the gradual deterioration of his voice. Eventually, the bear ceases making any audible sound, instead sporting a content smile with his eyes shut. I'm disgraced that I can't act, even in the wake of agony and discomfort. I can only watch. After a few moments, AL933 joins me in silence, his fur still damp despite already putting on his shirt. He observes the situation, undoubtedly perplexed by the uproarious laughter of the bear and my inability to respond to his presence. I remain tongue-tied, unable to utter a single word, but it's AL933 who dispels the tension by reaching out and grasping my arm with a light squeeze. This small gesture makes me turn my gaze towards him, and he speaks only a few words that are both uncomplicated and pertinent. You did well. I am once again greeted by his goofy, innocent smile and a friendly pat on the back. Although my snout still throbs with pain, I manage to muster a small grin, controlling my expression. 476. The bear's ears perk up at the sound of his name being called. His smile fades as he turns towards the lion's direction. OR476 gradually raises his torso until he sits up, sinking his legs deeper into the sand for added stability. He opens his mouth to respond but finds his throat unwilling to comply. He swallows hard, his white fur bristling, and casts his gaze downwards in frustration. All that stress. Please don't worry. You don't need to speak. Let's just use the yes and no questions we discussed earlier, remember? Is that okay with you? The bear turns his eyes to the lake and nods. Is there anything that you need at the moment? Would you like to stand up and get a drink of water or anything else? The bear shakes his head. At least he's aware of the situation. I didn't believe it, but after what I saw... You froze the water, 476. Physically, it shouldn't be possible, but it seems that's what happened. This will sound crazy and sudden, but I'm going to ask anyway. When you said that you slept here at the lake, can you point to where you fell asleep? The bear sticks his right paw out of the sand and points at a tree, the same tree from where he emerged when we met. That tree is somewhat close to the water. AL933 touches his chin and closes his eyes. His lips deepen over his knuckles as a growl escapes his mouth. I can see where this is going. 476, did you take your gloves off at the time? The bear repeatedly rubs his paw against his forehead, deep in thought. Then he nods in agreement. He points to his left glove and motions for its removal, repeating the gesture with his right glove, but shakes his head when pointing to his bracelet. As I suspected, he can't take off that glove on his right paw because of his bracelet. His bracelet. I recall his bracelet ringing in the middle of whatever happened in the lake. I wonder if phenotype manifestation stabilized. 6.2%. 6%? 476 grips my arm tightly and looks at me. He saw it too. He saw it. My heart races. We freeze, our breath held as we wait to see what the other will do. We both scan our surroundings. We realize the lion's eyes remain closed. He hadn't noticed the bracelet's sound. I place my index finger on my lips, gesturing to convey that I will remain silent, but the cold, hard stare in his eyes tells me that he is not interested in my gestures. I feel a sudden sense of relief as his tight grasp loosens, and he lets go of my arm, his deep sigh echoing in my ears, and I can sense the tension slowly dissipating. He looks down again. I follow his gaze, then he stares intently into my eyes. I feel myself being drawn into the depths of his black obsidian eyes, and a strange warmth spreads throughout my body. For a moment, it feels like time has stopped, and we're the only two people in the world. But as quickly as it started, the moment ends. He breaks eye contact, and I'm left wondering what just happened. 933, with no idea what just happened, scratches his chin and cocks his head with a confused sneer. Alright, I think I know what happened. If he touches any specific point on the tree's wood, it's possible that it could have created ice that would later precipitate into the water during the incoming tide. Alternately, we might have direct contact with the water which resulted in the ice chunks floating on top of it. While it is a highly speculative scenario that raises the question of causation and correlation. But as the saying goes, sometimes the simplest explanation is the correct one. Yeah. That means that you created the ice on the lake. Without knowing or wanting to, but you did. I say it out loud. I'm trying to convince myself that what I am saying makes some sense. You are the unknown external factor for the mystery of the frozen lake. Yes, we finally managed to solve the mystery. But now, there's another even bigger. The bear looks puzzled. He opens his muzzle in an attempt to express his confusion at us, yet only a muffled sound escapes his lips. How? I don't know, and I don't think I ever will. I stand up feeling overwhelmed. I am aware that the bracelets are connected to this matter, but I can't bring up the subject for the time being. The best will be to forget that I saw that. I have an idea, a hypothesis that is surely wrong, but perhaps it will guide us in the right direction. What are you talking about? What's on your mind? If his body was so hot while he was freezing things with his paw, his body may function similar to a condensing fluid machine. OR476 and I exchanged confused glances. Not literally. Clearly the system is much more complex. But it's to give you an idea. Alright, but what is it? Condensable fluid machines are widely utilized in producing cold temperatures, particularly more known for their use in freezers. These machines operate by employing a condenser that applies pressure to a refrigerant gas, transforming it into a liquid form. This liquid is then released where it is desired to be cold. During the process of evaporation, heat is absorbed, and if there's water present, it can even lead to the formation of ice. It still sounds too complicated. From what I understand, you think he's like a freezer? His body. I think his body works like one. I don't know how exactly. I mean, it shouldn't be possible without refrigerant gas. Furthermore, there are potential biological implications and inconsistencies to consider. However, I'm just comparing the data in my head. I'm not a biologist, so I can't confirm whether it's even possible. I'm simply trying to clarify the situation based on our observations. Which may not be the most effective means of fighting something. Then you admit that your hypothesis does not make sense? Yes. Just like the whole situation we're in? Fantastic. The feline and I gaze down to the ground, absorbing the sand beneath our feet. Unnoticed by us, OR-476 slowly places his knees on the ground and manages to lift himself up on his own. Seeing this, AL-933 rushes to assist him, but is met with a fierce growl from the bear, causing us to step back in fear. The lion quickly conceals his paws in his overalls, attempting to play it cool despite the embarrassment etched on his slightly reddened ears and cheeks. I don't think I have the right to have an opinion on that. I can relate to not wanting to help at times like this. Times when I wish to refuse help. We watch 476 eventually stand firm on his own 2 feet, with some wobbling though. His menacing expression from our first encounter returns, signaling a return to form. His laughter sounds more like a hiss than a laugh. I'm a Fraser. Despite being barely audible, he articulates the words surprisingly well, allowing my ears to catch them. I just hope he doesn't push himself too hard. I didn't mean to worry you. On second thought, if I hadn't mentioned anything, if only I had said something, this is our fault. The bear swiftly shakes his head and frowns, pointing his paw at AL-933. I am filled with awe at how, if he chooses to, he could easily overpower the lion, who is much bigger than me. The lion straightens his back, lifting both paws in a gesture of surrender. 476 pokes his claw at the lion's jumpsuit as he shakes his head. Then, he smiles. I think that means don't worry, this is not your fault. I see. I apologize regardless. Hey, are you sure that you don't need anything? The bear quickly shakes his head once more. Your gloves. We know that they keep the ice from spreading further. Do you think your gloves keep things from freezing? 476 raises his paws and makes a gesture, indicating a speculative possibility. I think it's possible and the most logical. But if there's a material that is capable of doing that, who made those gloves and who gave them to him? Better leave that topic for another time, big guy. Right. You're right, sorry. What should we do now? That's a good question. I guess going to the warehouse is the next logical step to take. Do you have any other ideas? Not really. The fishing operation in the lake was a failure, and we should explore as much of a possibility before it gets dark. Shall the 3 of us go to the warehouse? We should check with him if he wants to come with us. What? Are you sure that it's a good idea to leave him alone? If something like this happened to me, I wouldn't want to be alone. He's not you, and from the things that he said earlier, I think that he'd appreciate a moment alone to process this. What do you think, partner? OR-476 is ignoring our conversation. He's introspecting his paws, touching his gloves as if they were precious jewels. You're taking this better than I thought. The bear looks up at me, his small, upsitting eyes searching for my own eyes. I guess that's safe as long as you have the gloves on? I guess so, but just in case, it's best not to touch each other without warning until we're sure. 476 cocks his head heavily, his ears flopping down. Oh, right. He touched AL-933 a moment ago with his left paw. That could have gone very wrong. It's okay, I touched you without permission too a while ago. Let's just stop touching without warning from now on, okay? The bear smiles at his comment, raises his paw and gives us a thumbs up. I'm glad that he's at least taking things with humor. Do you need some space? You know, so that you can try to deal with this in the meantime? I don't know if you want to go to the warehouse. The decision is yours, 476. Would you prefer to stay here while we go to the warehouse? He nods again, now with a smile that made that menacing face of his look soft and friendly. Oh, that's fine. Anything we can do to help you? Anything? The bear quickly shakes his head once more. If so, let's meet up here before starset. If you need anything, just yell really loud and we'll come running. I think it'll be better if he draws out our attention in some other ways, big guy. Oh, yeah. Right, my bad. 476 scratches the back of his neck and lets us see his teeth under a sad smile. Sorry for scaring you earlier. You don't need to talk, it's fine. Hey, don't be sad. We'll see each other soon. This is just a see you later. It was a pleasure, 476. I impulsively extend my paw to shake with his, only to realize the impracticality of the gesture. I quickly retract my paw, now with blood on my cheeks. AL933 laughs, OR476 and I smile. We say our goodbyes and start walking towards the road that the bear pointed out to us earlier. I can't help but feel a mix of anticipation and nervousness over what we might encounter ahead. Nevertheless, we keep moving and make sure to stay alert and cautious at all times. As I walk, I feel the weight of my drenched lower clothing. That makes me think of the lion, who unlike me had a full body bath in the lake. Hey, big guy, are you okay? Is your fur drying well? I'm doing well. While I'm pleased to have uncovered what occurred here, I remain skeptical about the plausibility of it all. So many doubts about how that was even possible. You can say that again. I could tell him about what I saw, the connection with the bracelets. He may not have heard when I touched OR476's bracelet, but he might have heard it at the lake. No, not yet. I don't want to make the same mistake and get ahead of myself. I also promised 476 that I would not say anything. I'll tell him when the time comes. What about you? Are you okay? I'm fine, just confused with everything that happened. After what happened in the arena and this, I feel somehow unstable. Do you think that I tend to act and speak my mind without considering the consequences? Why the sudden question? Well... Hey, forget that. It's far more pleasant to be around someone who always speaks his mind than one who keeps everything to himself. It's easier for me to act in the best way in favor of friendship. Hehehe. What if I don't want to be your friend? So yeah, I order you to stop worrying about it. I couldn't help but smile at those words. I appreciate it. We reached the beginning of the cobblestone path. If we keep going, we will go back into the forest. Alright, mate. Ready to keep exploring even if nothing in this place makes sense? Heh, lead the way, mate. To be continued. And that would be all for now. Thank you very much for playing the second build of Our Shared Lie. This story still does not make sense. It's been some time, hasn't it? Life has thrown us some curveballs, but we're grateful to be able to finally give you this update. First and foremost, we would like to express our sincerest gratitude to all of you for your unwavering support. Your encouragement means the world to us. We're a group of Latino Americanos who enjoy sharing this story in our free time, and we use English to reach a wider audience. While none of us are native English speakers, we have put in our best efforts to improve our writing for this update. We also want to thank those of you who have asked about supporting us. We have opened a coffee for those who are interested in doing so. Any contributions would be greatly appreciated. It will most likely go towards hiring an editor. Ha 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 ha. You guys do kinda need it. Please follow us on Twitter, itch.io, and Telegram for any updates on our next release. We hope to see you soon and promise not to keep you waiting as long this time. Thank you again for your kindness and patience. So, yeah, they do need an editor. So yeah, donate so they can get an editor. I think that they did do a slightly better... They did better this time around with regards to the writing in the sense that it looks like they did try to make the story make more sense in a way of what's happening and stuff like that, but you could also tell that there are certain words that it's like, was that really the correct word to use in this sentence? But again, as you could see there, they're not native English speakers, which means that they probably had to use something to help translate what they want to write. And translation apps and things like that can only go so far, because it needs to know more or less what you want to say and how you want to say it And that's really hard for translation things and stuff like that to grasp. You could probably use Grammarly, though. That might help, and it's in most instances free. Depending on how you work with it, or you can just pay to work with it, I guess. Anyways, but yeah, the sprite work between the lion and any other character that shows up is more in line, because if I recall correctly, in the first build, the tiger sprite and the lion sprite did not look the same. It kind of looked like two people drew it. And actually, let me see if I can... No, actually, I can't show it here because it's not here anymore. In the new version, the tiger sprite looks more similar to the lion sprite, meaning that the line work and stuff like that is similar, and they're like around the same height and everything like that, so it doesn't look like they're from two separate visual novels. It actually looks like they're from the same one now. And that's it carried over with the polar bear too. I'm trying to remember what other little changes happened with the first build that are different in this build now. I mean, again, the interactions with the tiger and the Colosseum were slightly tweaked. I still agree with the tiger that, he's right into thinking that there's something weird going on here. And I mean, it's more apparent now. But that it's not sort of like, oh, you just accidentally found your way there. No, it's like somebody put you there, and they put you there for a reason. And the fact that there are weapons, a warehouse with food and things like that here, and probably even more things later on, is probably pointing to something more happening. Like, they're there for a reason. Maybe they're like an experiment. And given that the polar bears, I guess you could say ice powers or refrigerant powers manifested, and then the bracelet reacted to it, perhaps it means that they're there because of what they can do. Maybe the gloves are there to stop his refrigerant powers from happening, and the whole bracelet was warning like, hey, you're manifesting something. You need to stop it now because something's gonna happen. I take it that it's sort of like a measure of how much... I think that the bracelet said genome, so maybe it's like a measure of how mutated your genome has become. So yeah, if that's so, then I'm wondering what mutations, if at all, any of the other characters will experience. Like what's gonna happen with the lion, what's gonna happen with the tiger, with the main character who's a wolf. And that's also something that I find very sketchy, because it kind of sounds like he wasn't a wolf to begin with. Like, he got turned into a wolf, so it better not turn into an isekai. Like some sort of like weird futuristic isekai where you started as a human and you became a wolf, because that's gonna be very stupid. Well, not stupid, it's just gonna be like, why? That sounds dumb. Please don't do that. Enough with human as the protags. We don't need self-inserts anymore. I am thankful that there hasn't been anything in the way of like a dating simulator type stuff, and there's no slice of life stuff happening. It's just, you're just exploring what's going on. I'm still curious about the whole Our Shared Light title. Like, if at least one of them knows what's going on and they just either chose to forget or something. I know you're supposed to unravel a mystery. So far, I guess the mystery is, what are they doing there? And what's up with these powers? Or at least, what's up with the polar bear and his refrigerant powers? Because I can't say that he has ice powers, because it's not that. He is literally a refrigerator. Or freezer. But yeah. Anyway, so, write down in the comments what you think. And thank you all for watching / listening. If you would like to play Our Shared Lie, you can do so by going over to itch and downloading it from there, which I will link down in the description their Twitter page, which should have a direct link to the itch.io page. as well as their coffee because they don't have a Patreon, where you can support them if you want to, like saying like, hey, good job on this visual novel. It's very pretty. Here is some money so that you can have an editor so that the story makes that teeny bit more sense. But yeah, do it. Come on, give them money. If you want, of course. I also have a coffee in case you want to give me money. You know, go for it. I'm not stopping you. In fact, I am encouraging it. Any money helps. But yeah, so I guess that's it for now, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.